Hunter Thompson once intoned that when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. And right now, with what is going on in the world today, we are going to need every one of our conspirators, everybody in the conspiratorium, those of you who have, for the longest time, suspected the world and the governments of being filled with graft and corruption, those of you who have been a part of a secret society of sorts where we have had to move in and out of the corridors. Louise C. Jones, welcome so much to you, madam. You were, please, welcome. Have a front seat. Have some crumb cake, please. Make room for our good friend, our new member of the family, Louise. But if ever there was a time for you, if ever there was a time for you to really say, okay, now you're going to need me, now they're going to need us, it is now. Ladies and gentlemen, everything is so bizarre, freaky, I can't even begin or tell you where we even start. I don't even know how to say this. I don't even know where to go. I don't even know. First, we're going to talk about so many things tonight. This NYPD CIA. I just released a kind of a Sunday night version of the newsletter. Tell me you are subscribed to the newsletter for the up-to-the-date reviews. And this is the symbology of monopoly money. This is the best thing for sleuths and those of us who have spent our lives studying the symbology, the semiotics. Remember, humans love symbology. They love references. It's what humans do. We've always done this, from our prayers to our religion to the sign of the cross. Even this, George Strait in Vegas, did you see this? Even this is a sign that we're a member of the club. Think about what I'm saying. Even this is a sign of we're a member of the club. It's the most amazing thing in the world. We're going to be talking about that. Also, big, huge news. You're going to see the beginning of the end of one of the biggest entertainment colossi, I think you might want to say. And this is Diddy and Jay-Z. This is something which is so important, dear friends. I don't even know how to tell you this, but it's time for you to really pay attention. Jay-Z, it is latest, has been accused of, well, it rhymes with vaping a 13-year-old girl alongside Sean Diddy Combs in 2000, according to a civil lawsuit. Are you aware of what this is? Do you know what this would mean? Not just to the music world, but to these individuals themselves. This is a colossus. I don't even know where to start. This is what people have been talking about forever. He knows they have absolute mounds of dirt on him. And now it's all spilling out. We're going to see more of this when Trump takes the White House. And ladies and gentlemen, the first question I have for you, being the sleuths that you are, don't be surprised if there are more last-minute pardons, preemptive pardons. Think I'm kidding? Think about it. all of the people who are part and parcel of the federal, of the Democratic power play. I thought for sure Harvey Weinstein would have done something to come out of the woodwork and explain his things. Do you know what this is? Hollywood, P. Diddy, Kamala, the Pandora's box, the years of collective. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, do you see what is happening? Can you imagine? And those folks are not able to even remotely keep quiet. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the latest regarding the shooter. The newest group, HTS. Have you heard about this? This is this is the Syrian group. We're not going to spend a lot of time. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, since 2011. Let me remind you of something. Muammar Gaddafi at the UN warned Arab leaders, they're going to come after you next. This is going to be huge, my friends, huge. We'll talk about this. Today in New York City, driving, we saw more spraying and geoengineering than we have seen in light years. They were doubling down. And if I didn't know better, with Bobby Kennedy and others, Bobby Kennedy recently spoke, I believe, to Dane Wigington. God bless him. God bless him. He is the paterfamilias. He is the voice, the soul, and the most important critical voice regarding geoengineering. Please watch him at geoengineeringwatch.org. For the first time, we're going to be talking about this. Next, have you noticed how everybody's talking about vaccines now? President Trump has told Bobby Kennedy, unleash your magic and let's talk about vaccines and autism. Let's see. Do your magic. Do your whatever. This was verboten. Stop for a second. This has been the subject that we never even got near. This is one of the greatest times ever for us, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited, beyond excited. We'll talk about that. Trump in Notre Dame, showed everybody the colossus this man is. The colossus. He's bigger than anything anybody's ever seen. We'll talk about that. Drones flying all over New Jersey, and nobody's being able to find out what it is. This is, dare I say, this is the China white balloon yet again. President Trump pulling them, going on every platform there is, which I absolutely heartily suggest he does not do, but in any event. My question to you right now is, do you think the president is ever accused of being tacky? He's got a fragrance. He sells watches and socks, and Trump, he's the president of the United States. Do you believe, first question, right off the bat, that it is tacky? Yes or no? This is a trick question. What do you think, my friends? Weigh in. What do you think? First question. So that's going on. That's what we're going to be discussing. It's going to be bigger than anything anybody has ever seen. It is unbelievable. Still unbelievable what we're talking about. Now, while you peruse those questions, while you think of those questions, while you review them in your own mind, let me tell you something. We are still talking about an absolute horror show when it comes to debt. When it comes to our Gen Zers in particular, they don't know what to do. Nobody is talking about this. They need help. Many of our dear friends need help. Where do I start? Listen to this important message. First, consider this, peruse this, and take note. This could save your life. your financial life, your life. Listen to this. New reports reveal that the average person has $8,674 in credit card debt. Plus, the total average consumer debt is a shocking $104,215 between mortgages, auto loans, student loans, credit cards, and unsecured loans. Unfortunately, without outside assistance, many will continue digging themselves deeper and deeper into the hole of debt. I've advised and counseled friends and clients for years who want to take back control of individual debt about this secret weapon that has helped so many consolidate everything owed into one affordable monthly payment. They even helped negotiate a settlement agreement that will allow you to pay less than the total balance. Listen, they settled over $275 million in debt, and they've helped people become debt-free in an average of 28 months. I've had such an incredible experience referring clients and friends that I wanted to partner with them here and introduce their services to you, my loyal Lionel Nation family. If you want a helping hand to get out of debt, I absolutely, positively, and strenuously recommend booking a free consultation now by going to nodebtwithlionel.com. Look at the address. Once again, that's nodebtwithlionel.com. Use the link I've provided under the title. Listen to me. You can take control and learn how to get out of debt now. It's very rare that I tell you I'm excited about something. It is very rare. This afternoon, Mrs. L and I took a lovely drive. We had a nice lunch. We tooled about the boulevard, went up and down, and the question I asked, we were talking about today, is there any such thing as tacky? Look what our friend said. Edward says, no debt means zero credit score. Edward. Please, Edward. For the love of God, please. Not now, Edward. Not now. Now, question is it tacky? Is it tacky? Is it tacky? What do you think? What do you think? President doing this, dances and watches, and what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I mean, Shelby says, good. Shelby says yes. Shelby says yes. Shelby says it's tacky. Okay. Faye says yes, but I don't care. That's interesting. I like that. It's kind of like a no contest vote. Okay. It's like a no contest vote. Let me tell you something historically. Years ago, Abraham Lincoln was considered the tackiest human being anybody had ever seen. And why do I say that? Let me tell you. He was considered the tackiest because he put up, you ready for this? Pictures of himself. At that time, nobody did this. And they said this man that they thought was the most hideous man of all time, they said, he's putting up pictures of himself. He's running for office. He's disgusting. Putting up pictures, not because he wasn't, handsome, but he was. They were basically saying to him, you don't do that when you run for office. You don't do that when you run for office. You just sit back. No, I'm not kidding you. You sit back and you just say, okay, I'm going to be on the ballot. So anyway, here you go. he also went one step forward, and he actually campaigned. He was on the hustings, whatever the hell the hustings are. And they said, this is the tackiest man who's ever lived. You're a disgrace. You're asking for votes. I'm not kidding you. Now it's called campaigning. What I'm telling you is that there's no such thing as tacky anymore. What does this word tacky mean? What does tacky mean? I'm serious. What does it mean? I don't know what it means. Years ago, remember when Home Shopping, what was Joan Rivers on Home Shopping Network? Home Shopping Network. And they said, Joan, this is the tackiest thing we've ever seen. Or QVC, I think it was Home Shopping. Anyway. And you're going, this is terrible. And other people did it as well. They said, oh my God, they're selling, who is it, Gloria Vanderbilt? Remember Gloria Vanderbilt? Anyway, they said, was it It doesn't matter which one. Doesn't matter. QVC, okay. But they said, no. This is the way people do it now. This is, until Joan Rivers sold $1 billion of whatever it was. You see, tacky is the word. I don't know if that even has any play. Everything that comes along, everything that happened, everything that is commonplace at one particular point was new. There was, in the old days of Cale Yarborough and Richard Petty, maybe before, they used to have race car drivers. They just had race cars. Now they've got, I mean, there's no room for anything but, the Tide and the sponsors. It's new. It's what we do. So what I'm saying is the president is doing something. He is redefining what the presidency means. He is redefining. And if people like it, if they vote him in, how tacky can it be? Ladies and gentlemen, the man is a genius. Do you agree? I agree. I find myself sometimes thinking, oh, wait a minute. What am I saying? What am I saying? There's no such room anymore for this. Now let me go back in no particular order. You know and I know that they know exactly who this guy is. This case stinks so bad. Everywhere I go, I'm telling you, when we're talking, we see friends, we talk, we laugh, we chat, we review certain things, and everybody's talking about this case. Everybody's talking about this case. What is it? Who is this guy? Why don't we know who he is? Do you believe yes, we know who he is. We know who he is. We know where he is. We know what it's about. We know where he got the gun. We know everything. We have got people who are ratting him out. You've got people within the organization. It could very well be a part of something similar to this group, the People's Action Institute. I'm not saying they are a part of this, mind you, but don't be surprised if there is a group like that, dear friends. Groups of people who we saw during Antifa, who redefined what is and what is not acceptable. There were people who said it's okay to destroy property if you are a part of, in the spirit of Bill Ayers, in the spirit of the Weather Underground, in the spirit of SDS. They were going to blow up. Remember, in the Village, in the West Village, I guess, Dustin Hoffman was in a hotel, in an apartment complex where one of the weathermen blew up this bomb, and it was considered romantic. There was a time in this country when Bonnie and Clyde, John Dillinger, in the old days, even Babyface Nelson, there was this romantic side to that. Al Capone, John Gotti. Don't you remember this? The Outlaws. Why do people like the Outlaws? There is something about it. Women find it sexy. It's the old days. Remember Carlos the Jackal? It was the idea. Faye, I don't know why I'm leaving you up here, dear friend. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm leaving you out there exposed. There we go. Like you've done something wrong. My apologies. But do you hear what I'm saying? Doesn't that fascinate you? Why do people think Hitler is it? Why do people fascinate still about Hitler? What is he like? What makes Hitler? Why are people fascinating? I am telling you right now, I have spent much of my adult and youth studying serial killers. I don't like these people at all. I look at serial killers as a cancer, as an absolute cancer, not as anybody that I want to get to know, but as a cancer. There is nobody that I have. When people talk about, do you have your favorite? I say, I don't have a favorite killer. No. But there have been people that I've been most fascinated with. And this I will tell you. Albert Fish. There were friends of mine. We were in high school. We loved, I think it was high school or college. But when Bloodletters and Bad Men came out, we were fascinated by this. What is it that makes these people? But I am not interested in them. It's people. Che t-shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Beck says Che shirts. Yes. Absolutely. There was this. Why do you think Che Guevara? Why? Because it went the way of the, dare I say, dear friends, it went the way of the tattoo. One time I was in the corner of 52nd and Broadway, crossing the street, and there was this young person who had on the Mumia Jamal t-shirt, the dreadlocks, free Mumia Jamal. You know who he is? This is the Philly guy, Mumia Jamal. Remember this? And Mumia Jamal is right now, he is 70 years old. His name is Wesley Cook. Born in Philly, and he was commuted to life. And it was the thing everybody loved, Mumia Jamal. So when I was crossing the street, and there was this young person that was there, and I said, that's very interesting. Mumia Jamal. And I think he said, oh, you've heard. It's like, yes, I have. Johnny Maz the Spaz says, Lionel, 44 years ago, outside the Dakota Departments in New York City, did MK Ultra play a role in the demise of John Lennon? I believe so. That was 44 years ago today? Wow. That was something, John. And that is December, 44 years. And he was 40 years old. He would be 84 years old. Now, I do not know this, Johnny Maz, but if ever there was somebody who looked, by virtue of what he said, the fact that J. Edgar Hoover and others wanted him out, that he had been a thorn in the side of the American intelligentsia, it would not surprise me in the least, sir. But I have no direct evidence of it. I would really put money on Sirhan Sirhan. Absolutely. Absolutely, because of that. At least what's interesting about that is not only Chapman did it. We go by the Dakota all the time. And in our collective hood, we always walk by the emergency room where they brought in John Lennon. We all the time. It reminds me all the time. So please do me a favor. Make sure you never, ever lose that ability to question. People are going to call you crazy. People are going to call you daft. They're going to say, oh, there's John again with this crazy. It was absolutely not decommissioned. It was what am I trying to say? You know what I'm saying? Where they release the studies and they let you know of it in any event. So I thank you for that part. But I'm going back through this. They know who this person is. They know why he did it. They know the gun. They know the name. They know where he is. They have DNA. They've got him walking in places. They've had his name since, I don't know when. In the biggest city, surveilled by everyone. We've got more pictures there. They know everything about him. But they're not letting it out. Why is that? Now remember, I don't know this. Remember also, in New York City, we live in a town where we have every conceivable intelligence organization there is. Crypto Domini says, sorry, missed chats this morning, but here's a question. Was Fluoride Manhattan Project America's pre-MK Ultra? Got 5 more. I do not know. Fluoride is a statement. Fluoride. Let me stop right now. Let me stop, and I'm glad you brought this up. Do you remember, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to do this. You have to go online. You have to go and use your X account. You have to do your thing. It was called a Russell, or it's called the Russell Tribunal. Do you remember what this was? It was called a Russell Tribunal. And a Russell Tribunal it worked as follows. The Russell Tribunal was also known as the International War Crimes Tribunal, the Russell Sartre or Stockholm Tribunal. It was a private people's tribunal organized in 1966 by Bertrand Russell and Jean-Paul Sartre. We call him Sartre. Lelio Basso, etc., 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 etc. And I want to have, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, the Lionel Nation Conspiratorium People's Grand Jury. Spandex says, imagine if John Lennon was locked and loaded and had situational awareness. Yes. It would have gone, or if he'd have had bodyguards. He had no bodyguards. He had nobody. That's what he loved about New York. He would walk in right across Central Park West into the park. There he was. People would see him, and it was a different time then. He felt somehow there was no. Now there's people have bodyguards, I think, to look the part. But ladies and gentlemen, what I'm telling you is that we ought to have our own Stockholm Tribunal, the first annual Lionel Nation Conspiratorium Traveling Roadshow. And what we do, and we'll get Tucker and others, and we'll go to an arena. Sell tickets, free tickets. Everybody's free. Everybody comes in. And I want to be the judge, because only I can do this. Because if you've known me, you've known me for a long time. I'm very, very careful before I make a judgment. I've irked you to the point sometimes where you wanted to, because I wouldn't say something, because I'm thinking, there's no evidence of this. No, wait. And people have gotten mad at me. But I am who I am. I'm very careful. I would be the perfect judge. And like we have these debates, like at the Cambridge, the Oxford Union, we have these debates. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a debate brought to you free by the Conspiratorium, the Lionel Nation Conspiratorium. And we have 3 people. Tonight, we're going to have a trial. I'm going to be the judge. I'm going to let evidence in. I'm going to cut people off and call it a debate. But I want to know fluoridation. For example, we talked about this today. There's a number of different issues. Fluoridation of water systems for systemic compliance and the like. Fluoridation or fluoride in toothpaste and other things. And the question is, what evidence do we have right now? What is the state of the art? What is it? Person number one, Dr. Cleotis Lipschitz, who says fluoride is great. We've been doing it for years, and it's a wonderful thing. Then we have this other person who says fluoride is a terrible thing, and it causes the pineal gland, whatever you want. The third eye. Is there a third eye? We'll have one on that too, and you can talk. And we have this one, and then this one. Doctor, would you care to cross-examine? Yes, I would. That study was outdated. Any redirect? Yes, that study is not directed. You're on it. And we have people right there at the moment. Ladies, DB says Trump names Alina Habba for special counsel. Okay. That's good. Evan Webb says, we now know Lennon had two different types of bullet in him. I will tell you this much. I do not know enough of that. I do not know enough of the facts of the case, but that's interesting to note. That is per se a conspiracy. What is a conspiracy, class? What is it? Listen to Uncle Lionel. A conspiracy is an illegal, nefarious arrangement, a confederation between two or more people. It is an agreement. Crypto Domini says, reason being you read like the One Health system affected. I found evidences about the system of a scientist researching cancer toxicology in rats. Says he should have never been in any study if she knew the collusion and conspiracy. Censorship birth. Thank you very much for that. We need to have these studies before us here, my friend. We need to have the studies before us here now. Would you like to hear my favorite one? Richard Gage. He used to be with architects and engineers for 9/11 truth. I would love to have on the same stage NIST versus these people. One time, Mrs. L and I were at Cooper Union. Crypto, you'll love this one. And there was a man, an older man. He's a gentleman. He was, I think he might have been from even Alaska, or I don't even know where. University of Alaska or something along those lines. And he put out one of the most fascinating stories. He had a very, very interesting computer model of Building 7, WTC 7. And it showed the way it gave and it fell, and how none of this was in any way comported with or consistent with anything that was suggested as whatever it was. Okay. It was the most incredible story there was. And I wish I could have said, fine, thank you, Dr. So-and-so from University. I think it was Alaska. Someone. And he looked like somebody's grandfather. It wasn't a nut. Now, NIST, would you care to rebut? We have to have, listen to me, contemporaneous, real-time discussions as we speak. Now, you say this, you say this. Bobby Kennedy talks about his father. We bring in people who bring in the forensics, bring in the powder burn, the number one bit of information. And if it's refuted, but the thing that if I wanted to go to a jury, I could say, keep all your evidence. Give me this one. You found powder deposition. Sirhan Sirhan was across the room. This was up close. This was by definition a conspiracy meaning two or more people. The conspiracy is like saying a duo, a trio, a quartet. It merely deals with the actual organizational structure of this. Crypto says, I watch this stuff and the machines to do it. Interesting. We need to get this. Nanohydroxy apatite is type of toothpaste. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. Spandex says, I need some time ago, fluoride. I read something that fluoride in the water kept the residents of Auschwitz calm and docile. Possible? I would think. May I give you what I think about that? Number one, do you think they had to remain calm and docile when they were starved, when they were dying, when they were kept, when they lost all hope of existence? They weighed nothing. And somebody says, we've got to go one step further. We have to make them calm. Calm? They're barely moving. We have to make them docile. Let's put fluoride. I don't know. I don't think they even cared about that. I don't think the slightest, they weren't even concerned about this. I don't think docileness or docility or it was even a consideration for them. I don't know. We have to have two people. Person one says fluoride is bad. Person two says fluoride is either good or we've had it for so long, it's no big deal. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe it is a good idea to buy non-aluminum deodorant? Evan Webb says, I would work at your summer camp. Yes. Oh, I want to see these experts talk now. One time I saw one of the stories, aluminum. There's aluminum in deodorant, aluminum chlorhydrate. Remember that years ago? There's an antiperspirant and a deodorant. Antiperspirant is one thing. Antiperspirant, that's scary. That just clogs up your pores. But antiperspirant is something that kind of, you have apocrine and ecrine glands. You know how some, like the sweat from your hands doesn't stink, but axillary inguinal foot, I think ecrine does. And so it's a deodorant. So anyway, I remember hearing this debate. We have to get this out. It's in, don't for the love of God, don't use, it's got aluminum side to Alzheimer's. Okay. Rebuttal. Do you know where aluminum is? Everywhere, from cooking pans to this and that. Do you know how long we've had aluminum? Aluminum has been around. We have less aluminum than there was in the old days. We have a concomitant rise in Alzheimer's, but how do you associate it with aluminum? I don't know. It's fascinating. Stephen Lynch says aluminum or aluminium. And there are two different ways to pronounce it. You know that, right? They are completely acceptable. Completely. Same thing, spelled, pronounced differently if you're in the UK. What I want people to do is to say, do you understand what is going on? How about radiation? Oh my God. The radiation that people, how about, you know, the radiation that pilots go through? That pilots are subjected to. Oh my God, they're at the levels of, is there a higher rate of cancer in pilots? No. But what does that mean? I don't know. Here's one. Listen to this story. I hope this doesn't bother you. I love this story. And do you see where this weaves? See, this is the way I do. I don't apologize because, my friend, this is the way I am. This is the way my thoughts weave I'm like Gary Wright from Spooky Tooth. Dreamweaver. I weave. I go over here. I want to go over there. And then over there. Because you might say something that inspires me. Certain things that just say, oh, that's very fascinating. Do you know that there were these studies? Shall I show you this? There was a study. Here was a graph. Okay, here was this graph. And there was this too. Can you see this? There was this graph. All right? X and Y axis. And this was these two particular rates involving CO2 in the atmosphere and temperature. See this? See that? I don't know which one was which. One could be CO2 could be the top and bottom. Doesn't matter. But you see the correlation between this? Do you see the correlation? So what people did was they said, aha. What that means is the more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the warmer the temperature. Didn't you see this? Doesn't that make sense to you? Look at it. The more CO2, the warmer it is. And the warmer it is, you got all this stuff with the bears and the... This went on forever until one scientist, climatologist, said, oh, no, you got it wrong. You mixed the correlation wrong. No. It's the hotter the temperature, the more CO2 is in the air. It leaches out. CO2 is produced when it gets warmer. You're missing it completely. You see how this thing works? Pilgrim Media says, I bought a premium edition Federalist Papers book. Excellent. I'm so proud of you. You are a member of a very exclusive club, my friend. That is the absolute guaranteed Bible of the American patriot. Absolutely. Good for you. I'm very proud of you. Very proud. Very proud that you did this. Let me give you one more story, which I found fascinating. I've told you this, so please, if you've heard me say this before, I beg your forgiveness. There was a study that said people who have one glass of wine a day have lower instances of, I don't know what it was, heart attacks or stroke or whatever it was. Okay. One glass of wine a day. They studied these people. Oh, and they lived to be, longer, and they had one glass of wine a day. So people said, okay, if you have one glass of wine a day, you'll live longer. Because the people who have one glass of wine a day live long and they're very healthy, and that's wonderful. Okay. And they thought it was the resveratrol in the grapes of the wine itself, which is a way of keeping the sun's, punishing rays, and maybe that is almost acts kind of like hormesis, or in any event. Okay. So they did this one forever. Have a glass of wine a day. You know what they say. Have a glass of wine a day. And yeah. Got this? Yeah. Well, somebody said, I think you're missing the point. Anybody who has one glass of wine a day, most probably is a person who is able to only have one glass of wine a day, and probably shows a tremendous amount of willpower, not just with wine, but I'll bet you there are people who they don't eat a lot. They're probably otherwise healthy. This is just one example. And they said, you know what? You're right. Let's go a step further. Can you give us a group of people who don't drink at all? Muslim countries, no drinking at all. But for the most part, let's go there. Even better in some particular areas. So what I'm saying is correlation, very difficult, very scary. Do you believe that marijuana is a gateway drug? How many of you smoked pot or smoke pot now? Many. You ever do heroin? No. Crypto says, my Bible teacher weaves the word. Beautiful. There's something to be said for that. I loved when I was a kid, Bible studies and the notion of morality and the like. Speaking of which, I want to remind you of something. And this is critical, my friends. I want you to listen and listen very, very carefully. I told you before that for reasons I do not understand, but our good friends at Prepare with Lionel still have this wonderful ad that says, shop our Black Friday deal. So when you go to it, at the top it says, shop our Black Friday deal. Go to preparewithlionel.com. This is from the great My Patriot Supply folks. So when you go at the top and you click shop our Black Friday deal, it has the best deal I've ever seen. 4-week food kit for, get this, $187. This is a joke. 28 days, 2,000 calories a day for 28 days. 12 essential vitamins, you name it, minerals, nutrition, very important. You can keep it stored for 25 years. In these, they come in these heavy-duty 4-layer pouches in water-resistant buckets. This is the most, and you can adjust the type of food you want. You want more vegetables? Are you vegan? Are you this? Are you kosher? Whatever it is, you got to control this. $187. That's a joke. It's a joke. Do it now. Preparewithlionel.com. Do it now before they realize that they've lost their minds and they've gone crazy. And speaking of going crazy, I told you this, and I'm going to tell you again. One of my heroes, I love this man, Mike Lindell at mypillow.com. You're not going to believe this. Free shipping with orders over $75. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Promo code Lionel. You've got to use the promo code Lionel. mypillow.com/Lionel. Classic collection, Christmas sales, Price Buster sales. The most incredible thing in the world is my towels, couch and recliner pillows, mattress toppers. It's incredible. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Christmas is 17 days away. 17 days. It's that simple. That simple. So anyway, my friends, going back to what this is so, I love your intuitive thing, your intuitive part. We're going to get so much done because for the first time, we're also going to sit down and I want there to be the following discussion. I want people to talk about the notion of why is there autism on the rise? Now, let me ask you a question. How would you set up a test? How would you do this? The question everybody's asking is the rise in autism because of vaccines? That's what people want to know. Thimerosal was the first issue. And by the way, it's not just autism or spectrum disorders. It might be other things as well. That's the first question. So what do you do? How would you go about doing this? So the worst question, the worst thing you can do, and I would get Bobby Kennedy and he would be very good. And I would have somebody from the other side. And I would say, well, let me explain something to you. Do you know that we have a friend of ours who is a physician, emergency room, one of us politically, Trump, true blue, and says that whooping cough is through the roof because a lot of the folks who are coming here from out of the country who have never had any vaccines whatsoever, they come here and it's just blowing up. Why do you think that is? Because of that. Now I would say, are you sure? She says, yes. There are some vaccines that actually are good. Evan Webb, our friend, says, I am going to get an ant colony. I will name an ant after you. Ants are great pets. I think they are the most beautiful thing We had one in our school. It was wonderful where you could see through it and you see them make their little. I told you, E.O. Wilson. Edmund Wilson had this wonderful, he is the expert on ants. And he drew these ants so perfectly. He was the only person I made a fool out of. I saw him and he was so nice. We took a selfie and I was like a fool, but he is one of my heroes. And ants are just incredible to watch. And these little tiny, they have their brains. What brain is there? In any event, vaccines through the roof. Autism, are they connected? What else? What are we seeing now? Parents who are older. I read a connection, a story one time, which posited that older men who have children later on, there may be something with their spermatozoa or something. It was a hypothesis, but there are other things. What is changing now from when we were kids? True, there are more vaccines. What else is there? How do you control? How do you only zero in on that? Do we look at does autism exist in any other part of the world where there are no vaccines whatsoever? Wouldn't that be interesting to know? I would. I'd like to know this. I don't know anything about autism. I'm not an expert in this. But wouldn't that be something if you say, it's interesting? These group none of them have. Is there autism in the Amish community? Probably not. Is there autism in where is it? Is there autism in other developed country, Westerns? Let's find out. What is this? That's what I want to do. I don't want to necessarily go towards this because I want to make sure I have the right idea, the right theory. Bobby Kennedy's the first person to do this. Anybody have any objection to that? Anybody buying that? Anybody buying that? And the question you have to ask yourself, would you be upset? Let's assume somebody says, you're not going to believe this. We read the result. We did a 20-year study, 1 million subjects, we did crossing, peer review, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? We found no significant difference between groups that were vaccinated and groups that weren't. Significant difference. What are you going to do? Are you willing to do that? I don't know. Are you invested in the result of this? Do you really want to know this? Do you really want to know the result? See, that's the thing. This is where we need the right studies, the right protocols, the right design, we have to be able to eliminate things. But here's the question. Let's talk about it. Let's have the Lionel Nation Conspiratorium Tribunal. Let's take this all over the country. Pilgrim Media says the largest single ant colony is 1,000 kilometers long. Dear God. Did you ever see when they took molten, this is terrible, when they took molten aluminum and poured it into what appeared to be in these ant groups, and then it hardened, of course, and then they dug it up, and you saw the chambers, and it's incredible. Growing up in the South, as you know, Pilgrim, in Dalmo, we had fire ants. And you would see these wonderful little mounds with this pulverized, powder-like dirt. It was the dirt that the workers and the drones and whatever brought to the top. And if you stepped on it, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, would be this, you would be attacked. They would send the signal out, the pheromones, and they would fight to the death. And it was made of formic acid. Their poison is formic acid. And if you ever did that, the poison that you would or the reaction, if you had any kind of anaphylactic reaction, it could kill you. Crypto says, my cousin says it all changed after her son got the first vaccinations. He has autism. They create data to favor dividends. I wouldn't be surprised. There are more anecdotal stories about that. Robert De Niro said that. Remember, there was one year when there was 1 year when they had it was during the Tribeca Film Festival, and it was that one, oh, you know, that guy that they hated. And anyway, they put they showcased it, and he immediately took it down and he apologized, because we don't want people to say that. I've only been bit by fire ants in Florida. Oh yeah, that's one of those things. Have you ever seen chiggers? Be careful how you say that. And they would always say, if you ever get a chigger, they burrow under your skin. You put clear nail polish on your skin to suffocate them, so there's no suspiration. These are all those things that we heard about. We had more, by the way, growing up. Some of the best bugs, the cockroaches, cucarachas, they call them water bugs, palmetto bugs. These things, when you step on one barefoot, the crunch from the chitin is something that will haunt you for the rest of your life. And they fly, and they can take off at you. They are big, these big roaches, huge. Did you ever see in speaking of Florida, the love bug, the love bugs where they fly, they are joined together, and they have two heads on two different sides, and they fly in unison. The joke is they fly united, and they are in this constant breeding. I don't know if they still have them. And they were created, they were cloned, and the story was that they were crossing the Florida border, Florida-Georgia border. One leaped out or crept out or snuck out, and they were prolific. Turns out they are, when automobile exhaust is irradiated by sunlight, it produces an artificial pheromone. That's why you used to see these bugs on the highway, and you would your car, the front of your car would be covered with these bugs, these love bugs. It would smear your windshield. You would buy these gratings so it wouldn't get into the part of the radiator of your car. You have those. Coca-Cola, because of the carbonic acid, supposedly could keep. I mean, it was one. I always thought it was a conspiracy on the part of the car wash industry. Those bugs are fascinating. Fascinating. We have rats. You don't really see a rat, but every now and then, if you see a rat outside, very rarely there's something wrong with that rat. When a rat, because rats are afraid of you. When you see one out just walking around, something's not right. In any event, I didn't mean to get into that, but I did. My point is, my friend, what do people have to worry about? What do people have to? What if always go with something, with your hint, with your hunt? If all of a sudden your child is fine and went to have a wisdom tooth pulled, and the next thing you know, the child can't speak. And then there's another mother who says, you're not going to believe this, but I want to have my child's wisdom tooth pulled. And next thing you know, he couldn't speak. Now, if you have 10,000 mothers or parents who say that had to say my child could not speak after they had a tooth pulled, a wisdom tooth, do you think it would be beyond the realm of rationality to think that maybe pulling the tooth had something to do with it, since that accompanied your child? And so the temporal causal connection, but it's mimicked and replicated by tens of thousands of people. You don't think that means something? The causation, I don't know why, but you don't think, how can anybody? You do know, my friends, that whenever you have something that is making you a lot of money, you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that nothing gets in the way of that. If you have an airline and you have an airplane, you have a model. Remember that one model that was this one, I forget what it is. Remember what people were crashing, or this one particular one engine, or they will sit down and they will figure out what is cheaper to pay personal injury claims, wrongful death claims. In fact, I think it's limited by statute or by treaty. They might actually figure, you know what? It makes more sense for us to just go ahead and let this happen than to fix this. Crypto says love bugs took over or look like ants. They are everywhere in the South. Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, the first time I saw this, it's very interesting. The first time that people saw this, they were just shocked. You've got to see these things. But in any event, so we're going to get, I hope, very, very quickly. I don't care about anything other than the president getting to do what he wants to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't care at all about anything other than the president accomplishing what he wants to have accomplished. It's that simple. And did somebody talk about this? Did somebody mention something about stolen data and computer hacking and the like? They did. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you checked your devices for malware? Malware attacks have increased 643% since 2020, with approximately 10 million personal and corporate devices compromised with data stealing malware in just the last year alone. Additionally, 19.8% of computers face at least one malware attack annually. This emphasizes the critical need for individual users to protect themselves, their devices, and their data. This is why I use today's sponsor, Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, and I love the peace of mind it gives me. Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro is an award-winning antivirus with real-time protection, malware removal, ad blocking, scheduled scans, multi-device protection, and more that stops malicious downloads in their tracks. Without Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, I would risk my finances, banking details, personal data, and more getting into the hands of cyber criminals. Thanks again to Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro for sponsoring today's extravaganza. And do yourself a favor and sign up for a free 7-day free trial, of Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro during their early Black Friday sale happening now, and get up to 75% off. Yes, you heard that. Up to 75% off. Only at virtualshield.com/Lionel. Once again, that's virtualshield.com/Lionel. My friend, I think we've been around each other long enough where we want to see certain things. This is the most important. This is the most important thing. And I think it's important for us to realize and recognize a couple of things here. And I mean this very, 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 very seriously. Everybody's got something that they want to see discussed. My thing that I want more than anything, what I want is I want there to be a 9/11 kind of a tribunal. I want there to be this. That's my thing. That's what I want. I want that more than anything. More than vaccines. I'm sorry. It's my white whale. It's the thing that I've been wanting for the longest time. And there was so much data that is out there. And we've never gotten the chance to say it. And it would be the most catastrophic, because there's one thing for people to say, I knew the medical community was lying. I knew it was about big pharma, let's say theoretically, but I never knew that my government would lie about protecting something that they really had no business protecting. I can understand why people want to protect big pharma. I understand it. I get it. I absolutely understand it. Crypto says, I 100% with you. But I got to tell you something. And this is the most important thing in the world. It's my story. It's my story. And it's the one thing where I would love to say, they told you this. They told you this event happened. They told you that on this day, these people did this, and here's the evidence, and it was a lie. And you will find again, you will never be able to do anything, whether it's children being hurt, whether big pharma, big agro, big anything. You will never, ever, ever be able to have this happen without the media. Ever. You will never have this happen. Just make any sense? I'm telling you right now, my friends. I'm telling you, it's the most critical thing in the world. Dick Dickerson says, I want a church committee 2.0. Excuse me. I don't want a church committee because that's politics. And that was good. That didn't go anywhere. I want there to be something where the media come to see it, almost like, remember, you know what, church maybe? Almost like Kefauver or McClellan that exposed the mob. Absolutely. And that is the most important thing in the world. There are so many questions. And remember, somebody would say, how did a passport not become singed? That's interesting, but that's not what I'm after. Pilgrim says, where did the $49 billion that Boeing spent on the SLS NASA? Yes. And by the way, that not only that, I want Joe Rogan to do one on landing on the moon. What do we have to hide? What do you think people have to hide? What are we hiding? What are we worried about? I don't understand this. Maybe I'm just kind of a naive person, but what exactly are we so worried about? That's all. It doesn't matter to me whatsoever. Tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth. And I'll be okay. Evan Webb says, I agree too. On 9/11 is my mother's birthday. Yep. Isn't that something? But remember, we're not really going to find little things that were anomalies. We're going to be able to find a bigger picture. That's all. In any event, dear friends, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great and a wonderful day. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Evan Webb, thank you. Pilgrim Media, Dick Dickerson, Crypto Domini, thank you so very much for your kindness. I want to thank, let me see who is there. Stephen Lynch, Spandex, of course. Kyle. I get it. This, I guess it's upside down. Kyle, thank you so much. DB, thank you, Johnny Mass, and Luis Jones, our brand new member. Thank you for that. And I appreciate it. And also, remember, sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is critical. Pay attention. Make sure you do this. Tell your friends and send them to your other friends as well. And don't forget, follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Please watch Lynn's Warriors. Thank you, Edie Crowley. Edie Crowley is so sweet. You are so correct. Edie Crowley says, please watch Lynn's Warriors. You do this right now. All right, my friends, I am dismissing the jury. You have a wonderful and a great and a glorious day. We will see you tomorrow, first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock. And until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you that day.